Hello and welcome back to module number 3. And in this module, I'm going to start going to basic techniques in analytics and visualization. And this is going to be a part 1. So in this module, first of all, I will do a review of module 1 and 2. I will also talk about color theory. And in the end, I will try to introduce Adobe Illustrator and illustrate what I expect you to do in your assignment. So, back to our textbook and back to what we started. Based on a few, lay out 13 principles of visualization to enhance relationship with data. I will not go over the all 13 types. I will highlight only few of them, but again, the issue of comparison or comparing is one of the basic idea of how visualization can play an important part, and especially overcome the issue of comparing it to a table or a text. So this is where the visual play important part. And again, in a plot, usually this type of visualization is really effective in a sense that using colors, you're able to see the effect of it. Sorting is also part of it. And so the idea of data and sorting, we often discuss on the idea of alphabetical order or compile of classification. And again, can be sorted based on higher or lower, or based on colors or icons. And this is something that is really important. And again, this is part of sorting the data and giving colors and shade in order for it to make more sense. Adding variables, it's another character that our textbook talk about with regard to counting. And when we are in data analysis talking about attributes, variables is really a strong statement, and adding it to the statement or to the visualization can make more powerful statement. And again, adding those layers not only lay out the dots, but giving lines on it can give additional element, additional layer of information to the viewer. Highlight is another way of doing that. And again, this is where open source R and a package called ggplot2 is really good at, and have the ability to add layers to the existing data analysis or the visualization analysis, something that other platforms do not offer. And this is something that we will see and examine later on when we will review the ggplot2 and its attributes to visual analytics. Data aggregation is a process which information is gathered and expressed in a summary form. And again, it can be based on groups or classification groups, based on such as age, professional, or income. And by doing that, we can sort the data easily. But we can do that also in visualization, and throughout the semester, I will use this technique to show you how can it be done by you exploring different software applications and how they help us to visualize or to present this information in more concise or more visual appreciation in order for us to understand. Re-expressing is also one of that, and that is the relationship so it can fit for the model we are working on. How many of you are working with a statistical model? One of the things that we often apply or examine is that this model work for any means or any type of data, and we always trying to reshape or trying to examine if this module fit to the data. One of the things that we will learn in this class is about re-expressing the data if it fit to the module, but also if it fit for the visual. And if it does not fit, what type of visualization can hold a different set of the module throughout our analysis. Re-visualization, again, the idea is that to help us to better understand. One of the things that is often been used is to visualize the output in different forms, not only based on bar chart, not only line bar, but also to apply or to search for other form of visualization in order for us to get more insight into the data itself. I did not cover the other four principles: zooming, rescaling, accessing the details on demand, annotation, and bookmarking. All those principles, we will go over that, we will learn about that, but I want you to keep in mind, again, how we sorting the data and how can we apply that to visualization. So, the framework or the idea of this module is about introduction to color, and color can be very powerful. And in this example is Van Gogh painting, and again the use of color and the use of color scale can make this image or this painting a powerful illustration of his technique and his skills. But what is color? Color usually is the idea of things that cause different quality of light that reflect or embedded by them, which means that to see color, you have to have light. And the light is where everything comes into through our vision or through our eyes, and only the eyes can see the color that also bounce back or reflect on how we see the subject or object. So light gives us the color of the rainbow. When we look at the skies, we see the rainbow. The rainbow itself consists of several types of colors: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and velvet. And all of that give us the essence of a rainbow. But how do we see colors? So the colors is a way to describe the object based on what we see or reflect through the light. The light can be from the sun or can be electricity that shine the object, and the eye can see different colors because of the part of the eye called that is sensitive to different wavelength of the light. And so basically the ray of light is a reflection of the colors we see. This is a great video. How do we see light? It was produced by Brown University, and I highly recommend it. If you will click on the PowerPoint, you will be connected to YouTube, which will show you the video about what we see and how we see it. There's also the idea of history, and if we will look back at Isaac Newton and one of his development that we often forget is the idea of the diagram of colors, and he created that in 1966, and and what he came up with, the idea of colors has a circle, and it consists of those colors that give us the scale or the circle around how colors are being created. And as a result of it, we often define what colors consist of. We have primarily colors, which is red, yellow, and blue. In traditional color theory, primarily colors are three pigment colors that can be mixed or form any other combination of colors. And those are the foundation of colors: yellow, red, and blue. secondary colors is also part of our discussion because they help us to sort the colors, and they are the green, yellow, orange, red, violet, and blue. And so those are the secondary colors that help us to shape more colors. So the secondary and primary colors are the foundation of our color platform, and we have to consider that when we are using it into our visual analytics. Why? Because those are the common sense or common words that we often use in order for us to express or to show the analysis that we are making. So in this stage, we need to think about that red and yellow is the creation of orange, and blue plus yellow create the green, and blue and red create the purple. And those are the part of the structure that we have to keep in mind when we are talking about colors. We have set of colors that can be combined. And those are the things that we often need to remember when we are talking about color palettes. And the palette considers what is the primarily colors and secondary colors, and when we combine them together, what it will provide us. And again, there is different palettes and different access to it. And again, each one of this could give us contrast between black and white. And so the idea here is that those colors are part of our structure of how we see. There are a group of colors, and each one of them represent the next other layer of palette of the colors. And again, this is probably which should be another class by itself called colors. I will not go over that, but I just want you to be familiar with the color palette and what they are being called. And one of the things, and especially for a person like myself, we are talking about cold and warm colors. And we have the idea that cold colors are usually more expressed in with regard to green and blue, versus warm colors is yellow and orange or colors like that. So the warm colors appear to be more energetic and stimulate, and it consists of red, orange, and yellow. Cold color is usually consists of blue and green, and they're supposed to be more calm and relaxing. Ways to alter the colors, again, we have every individual colors on the basic color wheel can be altered by thinning, shading, or tuning, and each of those techniques is acceptable based on what you want to achieve. So thinning is the idea of pastel, which is usually simply any color with adding of white. So we add white to it in order for us to thin it down a little bit. Shading is the idea of adding it little black. So we are shading it in order for it to stand out or to shade the idea. So shading versus height, and again, this is the idea of adding another layer of colors to make a statement or to add additional dimension to colors. Tuning is another one, and it is the idea of adding both white and black, which is gray, and allowed us to add the gray into the tone in order for us to make it more concise. I'm going to use the following 3 slides is about the idea of colors in the palette, and an idea of monochromatic colors, which is usually by a single color, in this case is red, in compared to polychromatic, which is more colorful or multicolor, and the idea of without color. And again, how do we express this and how do we use it? We also talked about often about natural light or natural colors, and natural colors help to put focus on other colors or serve as a tone down colors that might otherwise be overwhelming on their own. So the idea here is that we are trying to use brown, black, gray, and white to have more natural colors in order for us to show or guide the user to our visualization. But another aspect that I need to talk about, and probably in another class that will focus only the colors, I need to talk about the graphic itself with regard to how do we convert those visual colors into application or platform of the image. And in computer graphics, they are often talk about two types, raster and vector. And raster is usually based on a pixel. And a pixel is the smallest display element that makes up the image screen on a monitor or TV. So the idea here is that it is based on a smallest icon or image or pixel, and it made up in programming such as Photoshop and PaintShop that allowed us to work on pixels by pixel. That's why it's based on that idea that we can change the colors based on a pixel idea. Raster versus vector. It is a raster make up of grid, made up resolution dependent, and while we scale it, the visual quality and the sharpness usually go down. That's one of the bad quality of raster images. Usually the format is GIF or TIFF, and usually it's pixel oriented. Vector, in the other hand, is a more mathematical arrangement of the colors or the shape or the object, and the resolution is dependent, and it is usually relatively small, and it is basically based on an object-oriented idea. So what is a vector and why are we so keen about vector? It is composed with the idea that graphics that are based on mathematical formula can define by lines, shape, and curves, and allowed us to create 2D or 3D, and it allowed us also to edit the programs in order for us to apply to it. Example, we have here the original image. We can sort it out or resize the image, and we can reshape or move the shape of the image and make up a new image out of it. The use of vector graphics is usually scale, the idea of resizing, and usually it's a lot of logos, company logos are being usually used in vector graphics. So the scale of it will not lose quality, which means that if you scratch it or want to make your logo bigger, you will not lose the quality of the image. Illustration and clip art are often used, but also we can see nowadays graphics on the website from small size allowed us to have a quick load time in order for us to see that. A lot of formats or fonts uses vector in order for it to do that. So the biggest advantage of vector is scalable, which means the resolution is independent, and it is ability to, one of the advantage is the ability to edit. You can add each, compared to pixel by pixel, which is really hard to edit. The advantage of vector is that we can edit. and the small size can be transformed over the internet. The disadvantage is that it has lower color quality than raster images. They do not support as many colors as the raster images, and they are not good for photography images, and they are limited in the type of the effect that can be applied. The common format is, again, the point that I will try to make is that one of the platforms that we often use in this type of industry is Adobe Illustrator, which is a native file format for Adobe Illustrator. And we have Adobe is part of the formula here, but we also have a file called EPS, which is PostScript. And when I submit my manuscript for publication, usually this is the format that I asking me to obtain or to provide in order for me to have my images display in my article. So we have different formats of it, and they are quite common, but we also need to talk about, because this is visual analytics, we need to talk about the format or the mathematical format behind the vector. And the idea here is that we can have a real number that can we manipulate and can be applied to vector in order for us to understand what is the real number or what is the real negative number and the directions it refers to in the application itself. So we can have two vectors that can end up parallel lower, and by combination, this idea of combination is part of our equation. Components is also part of the vector, and again, it can be defined as mathematical formula to it, and it has values. Components such as what it stands for and how to apply that. So those are the attributes that the vector brings into play. In order for me to illustrate or to introduce you to the vector platform, I'm going to introduce you to Adobe Illustrator. It is not pure visual analytic platform. However, it gives a supporting cast to visual analytics. Why? Because its ability to produce high quality images that can be transformed to printing, which is usually the more high quality images that you need to produce, and ability to edit everything. In this video consists of a series of, I think, 7 or 8 videos that give you an introduction to Adobe Illustrator. I'm not going to ask you to watch the entire videos. I ask you to only watch the beginning to understand how the Adobe Illustrator actually works and what it gives you the ability. If you did not follow up on my posting, the first posting that I did about getting Adobe Suite into your computer, and you don't have the space or the time to do that, you can always use the USF application gateway in order for you to apply to it. So, what is the Adobe Illustrator give you? It gives you the platform of how to create the images. And I'm going back to the assignment. In the assignment, I ask you to capture, based on Google Fusion, what does it entail? So what is the Adobe Illustrator allowed us to do? It allowed us to add, for example, title to the image. Example, give more directions to the map that you giving it. In this case, I open the file in Adobe, and it gives me the ability to add text As I said before, I can add lines, I can color the lines, I can make it, add some colors to it, I can add more options with that regard, and by doing that I can apply colors or anything that you think that will be more transparent with regard to your visualization. So your assignment for this class is you're going to take the image that you captured in Google Fusion and take it to Adobe Illustrator. I don't going to give you rules or no limitation. What I ask you to do is add text, add graphical dimension, and the objective of the assignment is to make this map more transparent by using Adobe Illustrator, specifically vector graphics. That's it until for this module. I hope you enjoy it. If you have any question, again, please do not hesitate to email or come to my office. Until next time, have fun.